Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at one of the coolest and spiciest core breakers in the Ultra Fantasy Cup, and that is Tapu KOKO. Tapu KOKO is an electric and fairy type Pokemon with the moveset of Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, and Dazzling Gleam, and due to that unique typing, I found that a lot of teams are very unprepared for it. For the team, I have Tapu Fini on the lead, Berserker as the safe switch, and I was able to have two 4-in-1 sets with the team. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Tapu KOKO in action in the Ultra Fantasy Cup. Hopping to the first match, picking up a fairly neutral lead, Tapu Fini into Sylveon. Since Tapu Fini is able to significantly outpace in this matchup, I don't mind staying in here to start. I'm going to farm up to the Moonblast and fire off the Surf. I just want to get some chip damage on this Sylveon before I eventually switch out. Surf is able to land, I'm going to farm up more energy, save switch into Berserker, and my opponent is going to respond with a Escavalier. I'm farming up, firing off the close combat, and unfortunately I do lose the CMP to the Escavalier. Honestly, not too concerned about it. I'm just going to commit the shield and go for the close combat. If my opponent decides to commit the shield here, which they do, and go for the farm down, I'm able to make it to close combat number 2, despite the fact that my defense has been lowered, and I'm able to get shield advantage. And honestly, with shield advantage, Tapu KOKO with its nuke charge moves and its very unique coverage can put in a ton of work in the endgame. My opponent is going to be firing off the drill run. I'm going to let this go. I'm sending in Tapu KOKO. Tapu KOKO gets the farm down. Let's see what the opponent has for me. They send in Giratina. Oh no, Giratina. Say it ain't so. Tapu KOKO, Dazzling Gleam, massive damage, nearly one-shotting the bulky Giratina altered. Giratina fires back with a Shadow Sneak that does do a lot of damage. Tapu KOKO looking for the farm down and will be able to get it. Tapu KOKO commits the shield. In comes the Sylveon, and I'm able to fire off the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt, more than enough, taking care of the Sylveon, and that is a good game. Moving into the next match, leading Tapu Fini into Melmetal. Melmetal, of course, can hit for super effective damage with the Thunder Shocks, but honestly, Thunder Shock, not a very high damage fast move, so I'm more than happy to stay in here. Opponent is going to fire off Double Iron Bash, go for a catch onto Giratina, but I'm able to hold on to my energy and then fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast gets the shield, and now I send in Berserker. Berserker does extremely well here. Even if they do have Shadow Sneak, Berserker can do very nicely. Foul play is able to land. Opponent has farmed up a solid amount of energy. I'm going to let this through. Opponent goes for a Dragon Claw. Looks like they are running Ancient Power instead of Shadow Sneak. So this is just even better news for Berserker. Berserker should be able to farm all the way down here, as there's just not a lot Giratina can do since they're running Ancient Power. Dragon Claw is going to land. They're going to give up Switch and switch into their Escavalier. I'm going to fire off close combat into the Escav, get the final shield, and with shield advantage, Tapu KOKO is about to absolutely shred this opponent. I will shield up the drill run, as that would do a massive amount of damage. Looking to overfarm and fire off the Thunderbolt. This will easily get rid of the Escav, and from here, Tapu KOKO is looking to absolutely feast. In comes the Melmetal. Tapu KOKO already at another Thunderbolt. This Thunderbolt is going to do big damage onto the Melmetal. Melmetal concedes the match. Great lead in the next match, Tapu Fini into Escavalier. I am so happy to see the Escav on the lead, and even happier at the fact that they are staying in this matchup, as this is a pretty terrible matchup for Escav. They fire off the drill run, perfectly fine by me. I'm going to continue to farm up, and since they're staying in, I'm going to go for the Surf. This Surf will do a lot of chip damage. Opponent will commit the shield. Opponent farming up, they make it to another drill run, but even with my bad raid IVs, I still tank the drill run, make it to the Surf, and I should be able to win this 0-1 shield here. I'm firing off the Surf. Surf is going to get the shield from the Escav. Escav committing both shields. I send in Berserker. They safe switch into a Sand Slash, and Sand Slash is going to get absolutely rocked by close combat. Close combat, one-shots the Sand Slash. In comes the Escavalier, and I'm going to send in Tapu KOKO for the aggressive one-shield farm down. I will commit the shield here on the drill run. Tapu KOKO gets the farm down. What do they have in the back? Oh man, this is absolute worst case scenario for Tapu Koko, as unfortunately every move I can throw here is either resisted or double resisted. The good news is I still have Berserker, so unfortunately Tapu Koko, this is one of the mons it can't really do a lot against, is Steelix, but I can fire off the double Dazzling Gleams. Despite being resisted, the Dazzling Gleams do quite a bit of damage. I can send in Berserker, Berserker will make it to the close combat, and the opponent concedes the match. 3-0 in the set, moving into the next match, picking up a tough lead, Tapu Fini into Registeel, immediate save switch into Berserker, opponent staying in here, and then they're gonna send in Galarian Weezing, and that is absolutely awful for my Berserker, as every charge move that I'm running is either resisted or double resisted by the Galarian Weezing. So my opponent has banked a ton of energy on the Registeel, and now they can just soak all of Berserker's energy at basically no risk to them. I'm gonna let this through, opponent is going to full send the overheat. I'm going to send in Tapu Fini and look to fully commit to the farm down here. Tapu Fini is going to be met with the play rough. It is debuffed though, thanks to them firing off the overheat earlier. Going for the farm down. XL Galarian Weezing, very spammy, able to reach another move. They make it to the resisted overheat, and I'm able to farm down. Opponent sends back in the Registeel. I'm firing off a Surf just to get some chip damage, and I'm just going to have to hope that 2-shield Tapu Koko is going to be able to clutch this game for me. At this point, tough decision to make. I'm going to put it all on Tapu Koko. In comes Tapu Koko into the Registeel. Registeel not switching out, and they're able to make it to a move. I know I can tank one, so I am going to let this through. They go for the Focus Blast onto the Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko continuing to farm and going to fire off the Thunderbolt into the Registeel. Registeel lets it through. I get the farm down. What do they have in the back? They have a Lowland Sandslash, and unfortunately, I just don't have enough HP on the Tapu Koko to finish off this game. My HP is just too low, and I concede the match. We've got mirror leads in the next game, Tapu Fini versus Tapu Fini. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start because I do want to land a Moonblast before I eventually save switch out into Berserker. I'm farming up here, going for the Moonblast, and I'm able to win CMP over my opponent. One advantage to running some pretty poor raid IVs on my Tapu Fini is that I almost always win CMP in the mirror. My opponent is going to return fire with a Moonblast of their own. I save switch into Berserker, and my opponent will respond with a Escavalier. Berserker can typically force a shield here. I decided to go for the foul play. Probably could have gone for the close combat, but I'm able to grab a shield, so the gamble ends up working out. I go for the close combat, and this time I'm actually able to win CMP over the Escavalier. So it appears that CMP is going to be IV dependent. At this point, I won CMP. I'm not going to shield. I'm just going to let this go. Send in Tapu Fini. Get the farm down. Opponent has Galarian Weezing in the back. And I'm going for the Surf. Needing to apply some pressure onto the Galarian Weezing. And then it is Tapu Koko time. Tapu Koko, as I mentioned, only has nuke charge moves, so it's going to get significantly outpaced by the Weezing. Weezing lands the play rough, and that deals a lot of damage. I'm farming up. In comes the Tapu Fini. I get the farm down, but I only have a fraction of HP left. I'm firing off the Thunderbolt. I believe I'm going to get Fairy Winded farm down, and then I just have to hope that Tapu Fini can survive. Tapu Fini, it's a race. Tapu Fini gets to the Surf. Surf will be taking care of the Galarian Weezing and securing the win. Moving into the next set, leading Tapu Fini into Giratina. Honestly, my entire team can hit Giratina for super effective damage, so I'm pretty happy to see it here. Opponent save switches into their own Tapu Fini, and hello Tapu Fini, meet Tapu Koko. These Volt switches are chunking. Tapu Koko gonna overfarm quite a bit and fire off the Thunderbolt. This will easily KO if the opponent lets it through, which they do. I'm hoping they send back in the Giratina, because they may not know about the Dazzling Gleam. In comes the Giratina. Tapu Koko going for the Dazzling Gleam. Do they respect the damage? They do not! Giratina gets almost one shot. At this point, I can just let the Tapu Koko go and send in Berserker. Berserker will be met with Registeel, and Registeel up a shield is quite scary for both Berserker and my Tapu Fini. I will commit the shield here. Opponent goes for the Focus Blast. I should be able to grab both shields with close combats here. and as long as I can grab both shields, then I have to try and make a catch onto my Tapu Fini. I'm able to fire off close combat number 1 and close combat number 2. This will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and then I'm going to try and catch. I farm up, switch, unable to get the catch, as the opponent is able to react fast enough and fire off the Zap Cannon. That's going to land. I'm going to make sure that I fire off a Surf here into the Registeel, as this way I should be able to put it into close combat range. And now it is in close combat range. Opponent sends in Giratina. I'm not throwing my move because I know I need the farm on Berserker. That was intentionally not throwing the Surf because I leave with the close combat. Berserker wins CMP over the Registeel. Registeel had the move loaded. They don't get to use it, and that is a good game. We've got mirror leads again in the next match, Tapu Fini into Tapu Fini. As with before, I'm going to stay in this lead to start, fire off the Moonblast, make sure I can land it before I save switch into Berserker. As always, I end up winning CMP in the Tapu Fini mirror, firing off the Moonblast, that's going to land, and I get an attack drop as well. You love to see it. Opponent is going to fire off a Moonblast. I'm aggressive switching into Berserker. Opponent farming up energy, and now they're going to send in a quick attack Sylveon. As I have an alarm go off, oh my goodness, there's a lot going on in this match. I fire off the foul play. All my charge moves are resisted, but a foul play into double close combat should be enough to KO. They're going to fire off a resisted Moonblast. That does quite a lot of damage. Berserker is a very dynamic Pokemon, but it's definitely not the tankiest. I'm firing off the close combat. That's going to get them low, and I'm going for close combat number 2. This will KO or grab a shield. Either one I'm fine with. It is going to KO. Opponent sends back in the Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini gets the farm down. I send in my own, get the farm down. In the back, they have a Registeel, and at this point, I should be in a great spot. I definitely should have thrown the Surf, but ideally, I basically just wanted to force them into throwing their energy, which they do. And now, Tapu Koko, the nice thing about it is that it's going to resist all of Registeel's standard charge moves. Both Zap Cannon and Focus Blast are going to be resisted. Unless they're running Flash Cannon, then they're not going to have a good day going up against Tapu Koko. They fire off the Focus Blast. I'm able to tank that move, and because I can tank a move, and they really cannot with how much damage these Volt Switches are doing, this game is already won. Thunderbolt lands, and the opponent resigns the match. We've got same leads in the next match, going up against a member of my Discord, Dr. Stalemate. As always, with the Tapu Fini lead, I'm going to stay in here, go for the Moonblast, as I almost always win CMP, and this game is no exception. Firing off the Moonblast, Moonblast is able to land, and I'm just going to let this through. More than happy to tank this damage. My opponent goes for a Surf Bait, I switch into Berserker. Berserker looking to farm, opponent sends in a Scavalier, and that works out nicely for me. I'm going for the foul play. Again, a mistake. I should have just gone straight close combat, because this opponent actually calls it. A pretty nice play by my opponent. I decide to commit the shield because I want to try and grab a shield back. So I'm going to go for the close combat here. Even if they shield it, I've lowered my defense, so they'll be getting slightly less farm than they would have originally. My opponent is going to get the farm down. I'm going to send back in Tapu Fini. Drill Run, not going to be lethal here, so I can let this through. Drill Run is going to land. Tapu Fini looking for the farm down and gets it. That is quite nice, but my opponent has a Surf banked. They're going to fire off the Surf, and Surf is going to be knocking me out. I send in Tapu Koko in the back. They have Registeel, and I have my opponent core broken, as Tapu Koko does very well versus both Registeel and Tapu Fini, which is one of the strongest possible cores in this cup. My opponent firing off a move. I'm going to let this go, as I know I am able to tank one. They go for the Zap Cannon, and they get the attack drop. That is a bit unfortunate. I'm firing off the Thunderbolt. The only thing I have to watch for here is a potential catch from my opponent. I fire off the Thunderbolt. That's going to grab the final shield. Opponent is going to be firing off probably a Focus Blast here, which they do. I'm going to wait to try and avoid a catch, but they wait too. They make the catch onto Tapu Fini. What an incredible play. And that will win them the game. My goodness. I tried to wait to avoid a catch, and unfortunately, the move gets caught anyway, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, leading into, you guessed it, yet another Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is just incredibly good in this cup, especially on the lead. As always, going straight for the Moonblast, and as always, winning CMP over my opponent. The last Tapu lead, unfortunately, I did lose, so let's see if I can play this one a bit better. They're going to return fire here with a Moonblast. I'm going to tank it, send in Berserker, and it's a simultaneous save switch. Berserker into Giratina Origin. Giratina Origin is a very, very strong save switch in this meta, but that's one of the reasons why I do like having access to Berserker, because Berserker can put in a ton of work versus Giratina Origin. Opponent goes for the Ominous Wind, opponent goes for another charge move, but they lose CMP to Berserker. Let's go. Berserker able to grab the final shield, and all I really wanted was their final shield, because Tapu Koko, once the opponent doesn't have any shields, is just so deadly. They went for the Ominous Wind, and they're not able to farm down. Berserker makes it to another foul play. This is going to be getting rid of the Giratina. I'm looking to pivot. They have Registeel in the back. Tapu Koko is absolutely feasting on these Registeel plus Tapu Fini cores. Registeel goes for the Zap Cannon. I should have thrown my Thunderbolt before they got to a move in case they debuffed me, which of course they did. Definitely not the best play on my part, but I will be able to make it to another Thunderbolt and continue to apply pressure here. Thunderbolt number 2 is going to land. Because both my Thunderbolts were debuffed, I'm actually not in a fantastic position to farm down here. Definitely should have thrown sooner. Zap Cannon lands. I continue to farm, send in Tapu Fini, and it's a simultaneous switch. But with the energy lead, I outpace, make it to the Surf. Surf will knock out, and Registeel just doesn't have enough HP remaining. Registeel gets KO'd with a water gun, and that's game over. All in all, I feel like Tapu Koko is genuinely underrated in this meta. Its moveset, definitely not the best, only having nuke charge moves. It would really benefit from getting a bait move. However, the combination of unique typing and massive damage when shields are down can allow it to be a very fun pick, especially in a cup where the strongest core is Tapu Fini plus Steel. Having an electric and fairy type Pokemon gives you a lot of anti-meta play going up against that core. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.